Okay, hi everyone, welcome to this month's featured member episode, and I am delighted to be joined by this month's featured member, Jay East. Welcome. Thank you for being with us and giving some time to let everybody know a bit more about you and what you do. For everyone that's watching this, I want to say a massive thank you. For everyone that has followed the featured members over the last year, thank you very much. And we hope that this year, the featured member kind of process is going to give you a lot more understanding around the personalities and the work that is being done within the field of psychology. So, with that said, let me allow Jay to introduce herself and a little bit more about what she does and how she works, and we'll take it from there, I think. So, Jay, over to you.
Oh, that's a big one. What do I do? Okay, so I'm a transactional analyst. That's my core training, and in all of that, I've trained in trauma, body psychotherapy, embodied relational therapy, and just kind of added to my skill sets over the years as my clients kind of directed me to what they need from me. And there's a few more things I'd like to do. Just don't quite have the money yet, but I will get there.
What would you say brought you to the approach that you take now? What got you there?
My training. I was sat in my training group many years ago, looking at everyone around me and thinking, they're all in their heads. Now I'm quite kinesthetic, and I just, it was very, very heady, and I was like, I need something else. So in that first year, I sought out other transactional analysts who were interested in body psychotherapy and trained alongside. It wasn't a full training program, it was kind of CPD stuff, but I did that for many years. And even though it is heady stuff and there's an awful lot of research and literature around it, it helped me understand things in a way that I had an unconscious knowing of. So, yeah.
Okay, so who would you say was your ideal kind of scenario to work with?
Ideal scenario. I was just about to get my, I preempted you. My ideal person.
My favourite man. I love
hero. Yes. So he was the person that probably has underpinned much of how I think about the work we do. But yes, so you said ideal client.
Ideal client or scenario?
Gosh, that's a good one.
It's tough, isn't it? Because I think for a lot of potential clients that are kind of contemplating the potential for getting in front of a therapeutic professional, whether that's a counsellor, whether that's a psychotherapist, and all of the various different modalities that are there, it can be such an overwhelming kind of search ground, if you like. So it is literally, a minefield of, what's going to work for me, because, as a potential client, we don't know what's going to work with. But for a professional to go, here's the scenario, it's just as tough, I think.
There isn't one, and maybe it's more about having a balance in your practice. So working, in private practice, I would argue that you need to balance out your client work, and so there's certain clients will need more input, and others that need more teaching, and others that need more emotional intelligence, and others that are quite traumatized that need, and it's kind of working with the energy that you've got as a therapist and the time you've got and the space you've got. So clients don't come in telling you exactly what they exactly what's going on for them. They have an idea, their world might have fallen apart, or they might have had an argument with somebody who says you need to go to therapy. So you never know what's going to come in, and I'm never surprised anymore when 2 or 3 sessions down the road something comes up and you kind of know this is about this really, or that's about that really. And when I have that and it's something more serious, and I know that I'm not going to be taking on another client until my practice eases out of it, because it's a case of how much energy do I have as a therapist to support my clients.
Yeah. And I think it's really great that the way you kind of described that base of knowledge. And you know, when I'm kind of supporting clients in a coaching arena, I'm always looking at what is the base of knowledge, what is the understanding that both I as the coach has, but also what is the baseline knowledge and understanding that the client has, and how can we fill those gaps if there are any, and if there aren't, then what's the next layer on top of that, and kind of building that relationship as you go. And as you say, you can get to sessions 3, 4, 7, 10, and all of a sudden the realization of what's been hidden for so long starts to come to the fore.
Yeah.
When you're working with clients, what do you enjoy most?
Again, that's a really hard one to break down. What do I enjoy most? I think I've got it. I enjoy empowering my clients. I enjoy them flowering. I enjoy them taking their lives back. And so permission giving is a big part of what I do, not from a warm, fluffy place, but from a real place, because actually I really believe that clients know the answers. They just need the help to find those answers. Yeah.
And even when clients say, well, I was never shown these, it's not like I had the answer and I locked it away. You know, sometimes it's about what they've observed not having that gives them the answer that actually you should have that, and therefore that is the piece that you're missing. So the answer was there. It's their perception of how to see the answer sometimes.
Yeah, and I use a really lovely concept, about unconscious competence. You probably know that from the coaching field, and conscious competence, and we have a lot of fun. And that's the thing I love about transactional analysis as well, is that it has a way of teaching really complicated processes in a way that clients can really grab them, and then they've got a hook to hang things on. Because quite often when people are in a really difficult place or in crisis, they need something to hold on to. And like the drama triangle, again, you'll know about, my supervisor, the person that taught me supervision, she, and I went through the exam process with her. I remember her, she came from the NLP world, and she said to me, I wear the drama triangle on my chest. and I always remember that. And I was like, oh, you know about the drama triangle too. But
Iron Man.
So, but so again, being able to be interactive with clients, be more quiet, be more educative. I think for clients, the more you can work with them at the different levels and layers they're at, the better. And the other thing I will do is I will say to clients, and I will encourage them, I may not be the right therapist for you later on. You may want to work with somebody of a different gender. You may want to work with somebody who does more hands-on body work, and that permission is hugely important. And I had that at the beginning of my therapeutic journey, where I worked with a therapist who I will always be grateful for. And she recognized I needed more body work, and she said to me, you need to find a body psychotherapist. And she supported me in that process, and until I found the right person, and then I worked with him for many, many years. So that, that permission for clients to find what's right for them, again, I think is really important, which is hard when you're a beginning therapist and you realize that the person sat there is probably going to be better off working a slightly different way.
And that comes, you touch on that point of the experience to understand that it's okay and how to do that and how to do that transition so that it stays safe for the client.
Yeah.
Because ultimately any transition is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Is I think kind of crucial in the learning process for any professional, whether that's a coach, and coaches quite often are approached by clients who actually need counselling or psychotherapy before getting into the coaching arena. And there's almost a sense of, no, I don't want to look at that stuff that's behind me. I just want to focus on tomorrow, which is great if yesterday and the day before is not an anchor that's holding you back.
Yeah.
And for a coach to be able to openly go, do you know what? You're not ready yet. You have to deal with this stuff. And then support that transition into that arena with the right team, the right support systems, everything else. So the chances are, as they grow and they lose those anchors, they're able to come back to that coach ready to work on. Yeah. And that, that's difficult for coaches as well. But I think it's vital that as professionals, we have those connections that allow that to happen.
Yeah.
One of the things that you kind of alluded to was the relationship between the professional delivery and practice and the personal therapeutic journey for yourself as an individual. And I wonder how important do you think that is in relation to the education process for those coming into the sector? I think more so than maybe than the professionals already in it.
Yeah, I think it's hugely important. If I've understood the question correctly, I think one of the most important things is your own personal journey and therapeutic journey. And I mean real therapy, not just 10 weeks. Real therapy where you do get a chance to explore, build a therapeutic relationship, maybe with one or two people or more on your journey throughout the training, and not just at just 10 hours, because it's through those journeys that you learn to understand where the more complex. I'm thinking, okay, so maybe some people don't need to do that, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But understand more of the transferential processes so that you can observe yourself and observe the client in that. Maybe so for people that are doing maybe more depth work, that's probably a little bit. I think they do need to do as many hours, which within the transactional analysis training, it was for a minimum of 40 hours for a minimum of 40 years of personal work. And I chose to, as many do, I chose to continue with my personal work journey. So I think more than 10 hours is definitely required. I think some people don't do depth work, and but they do need to be aware of themselves, and they do need to be aware of where their stuff comes into it.
Do you think it's potentially one of the kind of trip hazards that the professionals don't necessarily realize is a trip hazard when a client comes into the room and they're being triggered by the client, and because they haven't necessarily done that work, they haven't got that understanding of themselves, it can fall into that dangerous symbiotic relationship of actually, becomes peer therapy rather than the professional practitioner.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. And it even happens to people that have got, got many hours of training, many hours of therapy, and, it happens to everyone. So I kind of know when I've been triggered, because I'll notice that with a particular client, I might be in a bit more of a bad mood, and it would be kind of go, oh, what's going on here or something. That's just an loose example. And if you're not aware, how does that enter into the dyad? If it's, you know, with a client, where is that placed? So, and what impact does it have? And what
And
can, yeah.
I think when we look at some of the feedback that previous clients or those that have experienced therapy in the past, describe it that way, I think, there becomes almost a defensive response from the professional arena that, well, the client isn't understanding what we're engaging them in. The client hasn't grasped the journey. They haven't understood X, Y, or Z. And that defensiveness for me is something that shows that the client's perception and the client's understanding is actually justified in a lot of cases.
I think it's the therapist's job to be where the client's at. So if they're coming in for a little chat, and you know, I often get, you know, thanks for the chat, and I'm like, I thought I did some amazing interventions there, and that's fine. I really am. I think that is absolutely fine and should be respected by all professionals in this profession, really. That clients, you have to work with where the client's at, full stop. And if you're just going to be a very tiny part in their journey, my wish is that they've had something positive from that will lead them on to the next part of their journey. The next, yeah.
And it was described to me as I was learning, so, you know, over a decade ago, whether we are a big cog or a small cog in somebody's Swiss watch, their watch won't work if our cog doesn't do its bit.
I'm happy to be a small cog, as you know.
Well, for different people, their perception, well, we were just a small cog, or, you know, we were a really big cog. But we have to be comfortable as professionals, in my opinion, at saying, whatever I was for you, for your journey, I made myself that. Yeah, I made myself a small part of your journeys because that's all you needed me to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think when a professional in whatever field, in whatever modality, is that self-aware, the relationship invariably does become like a Rolex to the individual. It becomes so important. It becomes vital in the way they work and the way they progress and develop. What would you say is the one thing you would love to see happen within the therapy sector?
That's a how long have you got?
That's a massive loaded question, and we've got about 45 minutes. Go for it.
Okay. What would I think the whole sector needs shape. Not, I don't want to use the word shaking up, because that makes it sound like that's a bit kind of revolutionary. Yes, that's right. And people go into this profession for the right reasons. You know, they want to help people, and their training is what their training is, and they're informed by the peers, and they're informed by senior people in the profession. They're informed by the WHO and NICE and all of that kind of stuff, who have been informed by senior people, and the narrow-mindedness of everything upsets me. I think that's probably because I've gone wide. I kind of know there's a lot more out there, and I don't believe research should be done by the modalities that are trying to sell themselves, and I get very upset, and I think that's the right word. I get upset when clients come to me who had therapy with a certain modality, and I find that they carry shame because they feel like they failed because they've not been able to do what they should do, and they should be better now. And I say to them, so did you tick any forms or boxes? And they say yes. And I said, so what did you tick? Well, it worked. And I kind of go, yeah, it worked. And I didn't want to upset my therapist. And I kind of go, so that is what is leading the the NHS into putting the resources out there, and it's not, it's not always the correct way. Well, it's not the correct way to do it. They need diversity within the mental health sector, and they need another way of looking at our mental health sector, really. And some people are ready for certain things, and they're not ready for others. And I think the addictions is a particular specialist area, and that needs far more support than it's getting. So yes, there's loads of things I could.
Yeah, and you and I can have spoken at length previously around the kind of the way that knowledge and understanding, when it's as wide as possible, you've got a base that you can grow from. When that knowledge is narrow and you grow from that, you have a very unstable arena. You have an inverted triangle. When you have the knowledge that's wide-based, that is responsive, that allows a client to slide along that knowledge base, you have a very strong structure that will allow that client to climb up to the points at which they want to achieve as they move forward, rather than the system going, well, you didn't tick this box, so therefore we can't move to this. And I think in a lot of respects, that finite focus, knowledge, understanding, modality, whatever it might be, has led the public to come away from connecting. Like you say, the experience is, I went to therapy and it didn't work. Well, no, you went to a therapist in this modality and it wasn't the modality for you, but you've got all of this to go at. And it's about qualifying. Let's find out which works for you. And as Wendy Dryden said a couple of weeks ago, when professionals are able to professionally drift on their modality, their understanding, their knowledge base, along that baseline, they'll be able to find the modality that works for that client. And that client will never walk away going, well, therapy didn't work for me.
It'll be working for that client at that point in time.
Yeah. And like I say, it's about being with the client where they are, when they are, and how they are. And I think that's something that the education in the arena is slowly adjusting to. There are increasing training providers that are looking at multiple modalities as point of focus, rather than there is this modality, but we're going to talk about this one. So I really love the fact that in this year, 2020, the research was done on the power of the personality within the therapy world. And the year before, 2019, the understanding of self-awareness and the research on self-awareness was put forward. And as you know, and as most people that will be watching us will be aware, ANA's focus is self-awareness within the professional sector. And this year we're really focusing on personality and letting people be who they are in the world in which they work, without criticizing, without pulling anybody down, without kind of putting labels on. There's enough labels, we don't need more labels. It's like a post-it note overthrow. It's just gone nuts. What would you say in the sense of personality, a professional coming into this world as it is now, not how you and I would both love it to be, but as it is now, what kind of personality traits do you really think need to be brought to the fore for now?
I think, well, there's the obvious ones, isn't there? The ability to listen, empathy, being interested and curious about, our humanness and all of that kind of stuff. But then the first thing that kind of came to my mind was the ability to be flexible and then and letting go of the ability to be right. That was what came up for me as you said that. So
Yeah. And I think that ability to not have to be right,
mm,
to not know an answer,
mm,
but to have the curiosity to go, I've never dealt with this,
mm,
but let's explore this, let's find out, and let's build the strength of connection based on the fact that we're both learning something.
yeah,
And whether that's with peers, whether that's with
mm,
clients, it's okay not to know the answer.
yeah,
And I think that's something that our profession, both therapeutic side and the coaching side, has for so long been groomed into thinking you must know the answer.
yeah,
If you don't know the answer, then you're not, where you need to be, etc. And I think that's such an inhuman response and almost counter to the relationship that we have in the therapy room. Makes it,
and
makes it
I allow my clients that space to say, tell me the answer, and they know what I say, the clients I work with, and I say, if I had my magic wand and I could do it, I would wave it and I would do that for you. But what is this journey of therapy about? It's about learning, and that's what I've learned more and more over the years. It's about learning. It's personal development, whether you come into it and at a point of crisis. People often discover it and kind of go, I like this, and they tend to spend a longer time in therapy than they ever would have dreamed of,
yeah.
because they've got interested and curious, and they can see how it can support them, and they've enjoyed and maybe struggled with some of the changes in their life as they've let go of relationships, because therapy does change you.
Oh yeah. And that impact on the world around the client
Mm.
doesn't always go the
Mm-mm.
way the client
No.
was hoping, does it?
I say it on my, I put it, it's my, I got it, I didn't invent this, by the way. It was one of my teachers in the body psychotherapy world who I really respect and admire. But so following his example, I do say, this may change you, and you may change, your life because of this, and in a way that you hadn't imagined.
I know for me, you know, when I got my head injury, and my life changed in an instant, and I don't think anybody can kind of really understand until they've been through the therapeutic experience of what that instant change can do. For me, it was extremely destructive until I got my handle on it, and then working with therapeutic professionals to actually take hold of, that was then, that became an anchor that held you at that point in time. And I was trapped at that moment when my life basically disintegrated as I knew it had been planned out. And when a therapist does an amazing job, and mine did, by any stretch of the imagination, you're able to say, actually, do you know what? I can let that anchor go. I can cut that loose, and I can let my boat carry on moving forward. I don't have to be held there. It does change every single person's perception around you, because all of a sudden you're not that person anymore. You're not held by that anchor. You're not held by that anger or that hurt or pain or trauma. You're able to move off. And not everybody wants to carry on because they're trapped by their own anchors
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. I mean, so some clients, come to me and they say, so thinking about processes that are more deeper, very, very early, they're the kind of clients that struggle in life and maybe don't have a story, and they'll say, well, I don't really have a story, and so I just think, I need to pull myself together, and all. And I said, well, those with the story have to learn to live without the story. So you need to find your story, and people with the big story need to learn to live without it and move beyond it. So it's
it's that swings and roundabouts, and again, the professional being able to, as Wendy said, drift and find where they can actually be with that client at that moment in time. And I think it's a great kind of example of the power of a good self-aware professional. Okay, so we have spoken in the past and recently around APA and what APA's bringing to the table. You talked about the kind of focus for the future that you'd like to see. Why did you become an APA member?
Well, because I didn't know you until I met you through Siobhan, and I think Siobhan and I met each other. I think she'll have to verify this, but I joined Twitter. I don't know why I did, because there was this thing called Twitter, and I'm trying to keep up with everybody else, kind of thing. I joined Twitter in like 2009, and I think Siobhan must have joined Twitter, and I think that's how we met. And then both of us have been on a journey of the new technology, working on the internet and all of that kind of stuff. And then we connected through Facebook. And so I've watched Siobhan over the years, and I respect her immensely, and what she says, how she thinks, her congruence, and her ability to look at herself. So she had me kind of on board from that. And then I met you through Siobhan, and I went to something that you guys had arranged a number of years ago. I can't remember how long ago. Was it last year? Was it year before?
The year before last.
Yeah.
As we were getting ready to launch ANA. I think it was like 2 weeks before the launch. And we met. And what struck me when we met was the synergy of thought. And I think because we were so close to the launch, you kind of go, have we got this right? Is there going to be that kind of thought process and everything? And it was really the first time where we started to introduce people to what we were bringing to the table. And the interactions that we had on that day were kind of they stick with me personally, but professionally they stick with me because it was the first time where there was a therapeutic arena and a coaching arena that were actually sitting side by side, and there was absolutely no difference in thought process. It was absolutely, for me, it was a tangible moment.
Yeah.
But all of the respect, all of the understanding, everything else, APA could still be the wrong fit.
But what it does, it brings it. I don't know how to put this into words exactly. It brings variety. It brings difference. It brings acceptance of difference. And maybe I wouldn't have felt like that in my very early days. We've got to stick to this rule, because if I don't stick to this rule and this is what I know, then I won't be able to. I'm afraid, kind of. But what I really like about APA is the wide arena it offers, acceptance, the outward thinking, the thinking that other people can observe, and the ethical base that you guys come from. And I do think we need something within the therapeutic world that has more cultural diversity, acceptance of difference. That's kind of where I'm thinking, because that's kind of where I'm thinking about it.
Thank you for that, because I've never actually asked you, and it's something as someone that has was there right at the very beginning that you kind of think, shouldn't I, do I really want to know the answer? And it's that kind of sometimes you go, sometimes it's better not to ask.
Well, I mean, I've been like that in kind of following you guys and watching you guys, because I've been kind of, does the profession need something else? But when I've seen what you've created, both of you, and the people that you've attracted and have got on board, I've been thinking the profession does need something like that. That's why I'm interested. That's why I'm engaged. So I've been, I've been watching you guys grow. And with that, I've kind of become more aware of what I didn't know, but I knew on some level. And
and, it's like we said before, sometimes the client knows the answer by the awareness of what they didn't know.
Yes.
And that, I think, is something that is true of human beings. It doesn't stop because somebody becomes qualified as a therapeutic professional. Or
That's the start of the journey. It's like learning to drive a car, isn't it? You're out on your own, and it's the start.
Yeah, and this is where I think the second year of APA is really looking really positive, and the support within the membership. We've described the atmosphere within the membership a bit like a restaurant. We can build the restaurant, we can build the menu, we can get the right suppliers, we can do all of that, but it's the members that bring the atmosphere. And the membership has really done that in a way that I think nobody could really have expected or planned for or even hoped for. And I think it's beautiful that we're able to have these kind of interactions, but not only share them within the membership, but actually share them publicly. This is where the public get to see the personality, they get to see the approachability of professionals that I don't think has been there.
No, because the world's changing. Cyberspace exists, and that's the other thing APA does with diversity. It's allowing a platform and experimenting, and not in an unsafe way, but experimenting with that and the visibility and and I don't know how to put it into words really, because it's new. I don't have a concept to grab hold of. But yes, that's something that's really important, whether we like it or not. It's an important part of moving forward.
And I think as more and more clients and potential clients are aware, especially in the pandemic arena that we've had to face, and I agree with some of the professionals that we've spoken to recently. This is not the last of these type of things that we're going to have to deal with, and potentially this could be a small fry in relation to what comes next. But I think what's really, really positive out of the COVID scenario, of the online arena, of the amazing work that companies like Zoom have done in order to facilitate contact, is that we are talking about mental health in a way that we have never spoken about it before. And we can openly say things like, stop kicking it into the long grass. You need to deal with it before it gets there. It's things like this where companies who have had to change the way they work are accepting that actually this is a leap where before we would have taken baby steps, and we have to be mindful of the psychological impacts. And that, I think, is opening up amazing possibilities for members. And as you know, we have announced this week the work being done with the NGO and APA's work to make sure members are recognised as international consultants. What do you think, as a practicing professional in the field, what do you think the perception of a professional when they can say that they are working on that level, they have international consultancy work within their remit. What do you think the perception of that is going to be for clients and potential clients?
It's a hard one. I would say for clients or potential clients, then they'll probably see that there's a diversity within the therapeutic model that the practitioner's practicing. And and I think the buzzword really at the moment is diversity, and I think more attention needs to be paid to that as we move forward. Because I guess on some level the therapeutic industry has been not as diverse as in terms of attracting clients as it could be. So watch this space.
Yeah. Okay. And we heard from Dennis from Psych-Reg a few weeks ago during the birthday party event, and he spoke amazingly well about diversity and more, the wider sense of diversity of thought, diversity of interaction, amazing kind of presentation that he gave. And as an openly gay man from the Far East, I think you call the region the Far East, yeah. In America, it would be classed as Asia, but for somebody of that experience to come forward in the way that he has, and to speak about diversity in the sense of this is not one voice speaking for everybody on a particular topic. It's about having the choir of voices, as Accredited has called it. I think is really, really powerful. And as clients start to see that those professionals are working within that kind of scope, if you like, of diversity, and it's not just one voice ringing out. I think more potential clients and those that potentially see a need for support can get a little bit more comfortable with approaching the sector. As a coach, guiding the process of kind of APA's progress, I'm also conscious of our members and supporting our members in that process and that journey. So one last question. As a therapeutic practitioner with, what are we now? 50? No, it's between 15 and 20 years. I know that much. I'm not going to put a number on it. Between 15 and 20.
About 15, yeah.
Okay. I wasn't going to give anything away. I could be a gentleman. What would you like to see as the one question that every potential client asks their practice, the new practitioner that they go to see? What's the one question they should ask that practitioner?
Oh, you're testing me now. It's Friday.
Oh yeah. Donuts do not come until after the conversation.
Well, I think that, again, it isn't a one clear answer. Are you part of a registration body? So then they'll know whether that practitioner works to certain legislation, and they've had to register certain things, and they're qualified to a certain level, and all of that. That's off the top of my head. So that's a hard one, actually. I'm kind of going, what should they ask?
The one that I use for
coaching, help me out here. Go on.
Okay, one I use for coaching clients is, can I be me in this space?
That's a lovely one. Yes. Yeah. That's a lovely one. Can I be me in this space?
Okay.
Um,
And the reason that that kind of question came up was because so many people are groomed as people pleasers.
yeah. As you were saying that, and I was going, that's a lovely one. There was another thought coming, kind of going, some people don't know they're people pleasers. so,
And
so, so,
yeah,
so in the journey, it's a case of slowly that being teased out, and that can get teased out very, very easily. Maybe one of the things would be along the lines of, I'm not sure, but I'll just try saying it out loud, something along the lines of, I want to be supporting you on your journey, and however that may be, whether that means, I'd be very careful saying it, but maybe, if that means that I'm not the right person for you, I will support you find the right person for you. That I'm happy to be on your journey and want to be on your journey. I think maybe that would be one of the things.
that's beautiful too.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
And
Thank you very much for kind of getting through the Friday afternoon blues.
I'm energized, Dave, so that's good. I'm energized.
That's brilliant, because I know that after this you are supporting other professionals.
Yeah.
Did you want to kind of just give a bit of an overview of the support that you're giving to professionals, certainly during the COVID kind of
Right.
time?
Yeah. So during COVID, everything shut down overnight for those in our business. It was a bit kind of, what do we do? People have been seeing people face to face, and their whole practice was on that. So it's been a catch-up profession, hasn't it? So yeah, supporting professionals was taking a time really every couple of weeks to provide a space for other professionals to get together over Zoom and just talk about whatever they needed to talk about. And it was kind of self-led. There was no leader type thing, and that's kind of what I've been doing, and it's been maintained since. And people seem to like that space at the moment, and when they don't need it anymore, that's fine. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Do you think the isolation that has probably been in the sector for quite a while has really been amplified and highlighted?
Yes.
Because of COVID?
Yes.
Do you suspect that the bridges that have been built to that because of COVID will remain, if heaven pray that we get through this? Do you think those connections will remain beyond?
I do. Yeah, I think we're coming into a new normal for the therapy profession as well. And the big thing is, working on in cyberspace with clients, and and I've taken that seriously in terms of ensuring that I'm going to be registered to be working with clients online, because it's going to be a requirement now, isn't it? And I'm doing a course which is quite a lot into it. People don't realize how much is involved in this cyber world, and data protection and all of that kind of stuff. So yes, I think we're going to enter into a different new norm.
Yeah, and I think APA will be announcing its kind of take on the online working criteria as part of its CPD updates over the next sort of month or so. But as you say, there is an awful lot of catch up. There is an awful lot of programs that have gone out that all have to be kind of checked and everything else. And that process is going on. We are kind of looking at, what is the baseline here? And what is the safe kind of parameters that we can work with? So, that will be coming from APA in the coming month or so. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to draw.
At the time, I was thinking, that's okay. I'm in time for the group I'm running, because I've been before now. So,
well, let me bring this back to the pair of us.
Yeah.
And we can say goodbye together. To everyone that's watching, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know Jay a little bit better. And the links to Jay's website will be on the details of the video on the YouTube channel as well.
As most people say, it needs updating. It does need sorting.
Everything needs updating, and it needs updating yesterday.
I can't keep up with it.
But
Yeah.
I hope that as we enter into the first kind of full month of our second year, that people will start to see the personalities really come into the fore within the membership. And if you have any questions, any queries, either about APA or APA's membership or the work that Jay does, then by all means get in touch and we'll get those answered for you. But for now, from Jay, from myself, thank you very much. Take care. And goodbye for now. We'll see you soon.